All right, here we are tonight, Wrestling Philosophy Podcast with Coach Carlin Yetts of Columbus DeSales joining us. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Man, listen, you have quite a story to tell, and the word unique comes to mind, but to be honest, it's not a unique story. It's just a story that's not told often enough. And so I want to give you an opportunity to tell that story, start to finish. Bring us up to even today. You told an incredible story just a minute ago before we started recording that really plays into your journey. So without further ado, let's just jump in from the beginning. What got you started in the sport of wrestling?
I come from a family of wrestlers, actually. My uncles, my brother, Danyasha, wrestled for Ohio State, multi-time state champion, Steubenville Big Red. My uncles, I had cousins wrestle for Ohio State. It's just in our blood. But I was one person who didn't want to do it. I had no drive to do it. Kind of living in the shadow of all my brothers. Three of them played football for Steubenville Big Red all at the same time. They were kind of the hometown boys and had their likeness on T-shirts and run Tubbo Run all over the place and stuff like that. So when I was asked, hey, are you going to be like your brothers? I was like, no, I'm going to be in the band. I wanted to have nothing to do with anything they were doing, just because, they were doing their own thing. But eventually, after coming around, actually my first ever wrestling match, which I really don't kind of talk about this unless I really want a kid to feel good about themselves. But my first ever wrestling match was for youth wrestling, Steubenville Big Red. And, I went to the practices. I really wasn't into it again. I was just kind of just there because my brothers went to Steubenville Big Red. And they called me down to the mat. I went down there. The kid took me down. I went to my back. Ref called the pin. And I went, there's the 3 count. So I was on the wrong kind. It was the wrong kind of wrestling, stuff like that, and I just didn't do it again. I just, my mind just wasn't focused on there. I was focused on being a kid, and so years down the line, moved a couple places, came back home to Steubenville, went to Harding Middle School, my 8th grade year, and the coach there at the time was Joseph Yannock, and he actually coached my brothers when they were in middle school at Harding as well. And he was like, dude, are you coming out for wrestling? It was after football season. I was like, nah, I'm not wrestling. And he was like, what do you mean you're not wrestling? Like, you know who your brother is? Like, you know what your family has done here? And I'm like, I'm not wrestling. He's like, listen, he goes, give me a week. And if you don't like it, you can quit. I won't bother you ever again about it and everything like that. And so I said, all right. And I mean, and Mr. Yannock, he was a very, very cool guy. He was just a funny guy. And, this man asked me to jump off a bridge. I think about it and then I look at him and I go, sure, I'll jump off the bridge for you. But I went out and things just clicked naturally. It was so amazing to be on the mat and just things click. And he's just looking at me like, dude, like, this is your sport. He goes, I don't know I don't know how you feel about football or whatever else. He goes, but this is your sport. And that was my first year, my 8th grade year at Harding. And I ended up taking 2nd at the time where they had junior OVCs and everything like that. Steubenville's big rival at the time was East Liverpool. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny because they put, I remember this like it was yesterday, they put the East Liverpool A and East Liverpool B on opposite sides and said, well, they said they're going to meet in the finals. And I was like, oh, are they really? Okay. So I beat the East Liverpool B guy and I met the A guy in the finals and he ended up beating me. But it was stuff like that. Like, I love that challenge. I love that challenge that wrestling brings. So, I mean, once I got into it, it was just, it was full go. And, I said, Harding, it was fun. Mr. Yannock made it fun. He made it. He had a couple sayings. One saying that I still say to this day that he says, when I tell somebody something, I look at him and go, did I stutter? And that's kind of my homage to him still when I coach.
So I got to ask you this because you obviously Steubenville, you're an Ohio Valley guy.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it about the Ohio Valley? Number one, I swear everybody there is related to each other, and that's more of a joke, but I kid, but oh my gosh, I think everybody's cousins. And then what is it about the pride? Oh my gosh, it's just this huge pride that comes out of that area. Everybody that comes out of that area, number one's related or knows each other, and then they have a prideful story to tell. What is it about that area of the state?
When you come from, I would say it's from Zanesville on, all the way until you reach the West Virginia PA border. When you come from that area, there's just something about us. I don't see it being in Central Ohio for as long as I've been here since 2003. You just don't see that grit that kids from the Ohio Valley have. And in particular, Steubenville, we just have a walk about us. We just have that confidence about us. I never went to Steubenville Big Red myself, but it's just, but I was born there, I was raised there, and it's just you have just a demeanor about yourself that goes, I'm from Steubenville, we're badasses.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we have. And I mean, just from the coaching staff to the teachers, we all have that Ohio Valley pride. And I mean, I was just actually talking to one of the assistant coaches, I coached with Tom Jones, and I said, dude, we need to head out east. I said, we're doing, 1-day tournaments here. Out there, it's 2-day tournaments. Out there, it's grinding the first day and then grinding the second day. And I said, it's just something out there that, us Valley boys, not the California Valley, the grit, from the mountains.
Yeah.
We're just a different breed. And I mean, and the person to attest to that I can think of is my brother, Danyasha. He was just so determined to be the best. And funny story, he's a great storyteller. If there's one person you need to talk to on storyteller, it's him. He tells a story about how they were at, I believe at Bel Air tournament back in the day. And, he was just a focused person. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He'd go to the tournament, he'd be focused on what he was doing. But at the same time, like, I know the term wasn't back then, but he had fanboys. He had, fanboys that would go, oh my God, it's Danyashi. Yes, oh God, oh, can you sign this? And they want to talk to him. And he was just like, and his teammates were like, leave him alone. Don't mess with him. And, and the teammates would be like, oh no, it's cool. And he was like, no, leave him alone. And, he would look over and he said a couple choice words I'm not going to say here, but it was just like, that's just the mentality that we have coming from Steubenville, coming from the Ville, what we like to call it, of just, we're focused, we're in, and, and it's going to be a fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen that at the next level. We don't have to name all the names, but kind of an overachieving kind of surprise. It probably doesn't surprise you, but when you look at some of the names that are now wrestling at the next level, mm-hmm. There's like, well, where'd this kid come from? Well, even being a follower of Central Ohio wrestling, yeah. We would wrestle Steubenville. We would wrestle those Valley teams in some of the bigger tournaments. And those kids are always good and always placing and mm-hmm. contending, but then they go off to NC State or Cleveland State and they're like, wait a minute, where are these kids coming from? It's like,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And I mean, and the area we have, I believe, one of the toughest tournaments in the country with the OVAC. That's a 3-day tournament. There's not too many 3-day tournaments that, you have to, other than the state tournament, that you grind on the first day and then you got to grind on the second day. And then, if you make it, you got to push it out in a tough finals match or, a tough even placing match just to do it. So, I mean, having that tournament there, and I believe back when I was there, I graduated in 2001, you had just you had Ohio teams and West Virginia teams. Now they've added a couple PA teams. Now they've added, further down south in West Virginia with Parkersburg in them. And now it's like a real big grind because, it's adding more teams and, it's a 32-man tournament. And it's just, it shows to me the winner of or placers in the OVAC, they're going to place that state in Ohio. Mm-hmm. To me, that's just facts of the toughness that we have to grind out for 3 days straight. When we get to the state tournament, hey, we've been here already. We've done this before, and that's kind of the mentality that, that we all have, is that, once we get to there, state tournament's a cakewalk.
Right. Yeah. Those tournaments are so huge for all the programs. And like you said, you want to expose the DeSales Stallions to that kind of stuff. I'm sure Coach Palmer does too. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, due to COVID, we haven't had the the track record of being able to have those big tournaments, or they get canceled or whatever. So hopefully, knock on wood, we're back on track for all that kind of stuff. So you skipped ahead a little bit. You went from 8th grade to graduation. Tell us about your high school years. What, your wrestling, of course, but also your life during the high school years.
So my high school years, my mom, she did not want to deal with Steubenville Big Red anymore, with the craziness with my brothers. So she said, hey, what do you want to do? As everybody knows, West Virginia is right on the other side of the Ohio River. So we ended up going to Weird Madonna Catholic school. It wasn't my first choice. It wasn't something that I, said, hey, that's where I want to go. It just kind of fell into our laps. And, I went there, and I would say the best 4 years of my life. I had a ball there, even though I'm not a Catholic, not a practicing Catholic, not a person who's in the organized religion. But I mean, just from the teachers to the coaches, it was fun. It was really, really fun. My high school coach there was Jamie Lesho, and Ray Larkey. He was an assistant. Jeff Miller was an assistant there too. All accomplished wrestlers. Ray Larkey was a power lifter. We used to call him Tree Trunk because he looked like someone cut him straight from the stump. But we, I went there, and this, again, a small school, 150 kids. We had 7 people my freshman year on the team.
Wow.
So I went from, middle school having, 40 deep to having 7, which was a big shock to me. Also to a big culture shock, as I believe I was the only Black male in that school for 4 years.
Wow. The whole school.
The whole school.
Wow.
I think there might have been a senior, so it may just be 3 years. But I can't remember if there was or not. It's been a while. But for the majority of the time, I was the only person that looked like me. Yeah. There wasn't really anybody else. So just to really kind of, and I'm used to that. It wasn't weird. It wasn't strange. I was homeless for a time with my mom. We moved to New York and stayed with my uncle, and I ended up staying up there. And she ended up moving back, and we lived on Long Island, out in Port Jefferson, Coram area. And there wasn't too many like me out there, but it never bothered me. I was never one to fill out a place. I've always kind of made my place wherever I go. So being at Madonna wasn't like weird, or I'm the only Black person here out of a bunch of white kids. I made my place, and my mom always tells me, or always told me, you carry yourself in a way where you demand respect. You never say that you demand respect, but you carry yourself in a way where people respect you. And I go up, I've never noticed it. I just don't put up with people's shit. But that's just something that she saw. So being at Madonna, like I said, it was great. Wrestling wise, like I said, it was odd going from 40 kids in the room to 7. The first year wasn't so great. I had some success. I was actually getting to, so in West Virginia, they do regionals, then state. There's no in between. So there's 2, there's regionals and states. And I was actually, my first match, I got dumped on the back of my head. Ref called the pin, he didn't stop it, and everything like that. No big deal. But then I ended up wrestling my way back, and I was in the blood round, 1 match away from going for 3rd and 4th, and I couldn't lift up my head. I literally could not lift it up. I wrestled all those matches like this, with my head down the whole entire time and winning. And when we got to the final match to go, my coach said, "Can you lift your head up?" I said, "I can't." I said, "I really can't." He goes, "This is not worth this." He goes, "You're a freshman." I cried like a baby because I felt I could do it, and stuff. But he goes, "You're a freshman. Let's not injure you more than what you need to be.
So was it your neck or a concussion or both, or what was it?
It was just I don't know. We never went to the hospital. We never got it checked out. From the Valley, we're kind of tough kids. So we just kind of suck it up and just say, there's some dirt on it. You'll be fine.
Yep.
But it could have been just like a stinger, and I just couldn't raise my head up. But I kept wrestling because that's just the mentality that we have. It's just to go. But like I said, there wasn't back then, even though it's 2001, there wasn't trainers on site and everything like that, getting you ice and stuff. It was just, we suck it up and we went. But he made the call not to injure me even more. So I went ahead and we pulled it out. We pulled, and like I said, it was sad because I believe I could have beat the next guy and could have went, but we'll never know that.
So not to jump too far ahead, and I definitely want to go back because you brought up the time in Long Island, but not to jump too far ahead. As a coach, that experience as a freshman, when you felt that disappointment, how do you translate that now as a coach to your wrestlers?
It's you have a wrestler that wants to just go, that wants to do it, that, oh, well, if, my finger's broken or whatever, like tape it up, let's go. But at the same time, I see now as a coach, he made the right call. He made the right call by pushing it. And I've been in situations where, do I let this kid wrestle and something happens? It's on my conscience. Or do I pull the kid and then got to hear from him, his parents, and everybody else?
Right.
And it's like, at the end of the day, I got to protect the kid first. Wrestling is a temporary thing unless you really are dedicated to it. And and if someone's not into it 100%, you kind of feel that out as a coach, and you go, dude, there's always next year. Right. Oh well, you don't get to be the 4-time state champ, only maybe the 3.
Right.
Stuff like that. There's always that. So it just translate it now. It's the kids first. It's the kids first, and it's wrestling second. And I've seen situations where coaches are like, oh, you're fine, or get up, you can do it. And it's like, dude, really look at the kid. The kid will suck it up and do it because he doesn't want to disappoint anybody. But you kind of had to step back and go, is this really worth it? Is it really worth getting hurt more? So, he made the right decision, and I was mad at him for that moment.
Right.
But, at the same time, it was like, hey, I could be in a wheelchair. I could be, hurt even worse. Right. And the right decision was made.
Yeah. I've had the luxury of rubbing elbows with some pretty prominent people. And I had a guy who's a D1 coach now at a prominent school tell me when his oldest boy and my youngest boy were in high school, hey, Rob, it's just high school wrestling. and he, I told you he's a prominent coach, but he's also been on the Olympic team, right? So when you put all this stuff in perspective, and when my kids were in high school, it was the world.
Oh, yeah.
But looking back now, and I don't have a dog in the fight anymore, it's just high school wrestling and all that other stuff. It's not worth it. You are teaching life lessons, and obviously the injury thing is huge.
Exactly, and that's kind of, it's funny because like I coached youth wrestling for 10 years, and parents are thinking it's the Olympics, are thinking this is the pinnacle, and it's like, it's just youth wrestling. Wait till you get to high school.
Isn't that crazy? The parents are the worst as youth wrestlers, and so was I. I was too when they were youth. And then you learn, a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and you grow up in the sport. It's crazy.
Exactly. And and you kind of have to calm them down and go, what would you rather have? Would you rather have them win 5 or 6 OAC or Ohio A titles, or a 4-time state champion that's going to be noticed by Ohio State or Iowa or Michigan or Penn State and get further along than just, no one. And like I tell parents, no one's going to know you are a 10-time OAC champion.
Right.
no one's going. Your parents and your family might care, but when it comes to going to the next level, they're looking at the high school. They're not going to, you're not going to have a shit high school career and then them go, oh, well, you did win those 10 OAC titles, so yeah, we'll give you a scholarship. Come on down.
Right.
You know, that doesn't compute. So, you know, you kind of have to, you know, check the parents a little bit. I mean, and I've been in the situation time and time again, and it's just like, God, you know, what do I do? Do I make the call? Do I let the parent make the call? You know, if the parent does make the call, they're gonna, you know, most likely go, put them in. They can do it. You know, and it's like,
right.
It not can't be on my watch that something happens to a child like that.
No, yeah, and there's got to be a certain level of trust as parents, and that's kind of my angle. Is I've never coached, I've never even wrestled actually, so my angle is the ultimate wrestling parent, right? So I've had that perspective, and there comes a point in time where you have to trust the coach. Period. No more questioning. You might question behind closed doors to your spouse or whatever. Yeah. But you're not. You just don't do it in front, and there's a reason why your child is under the tutelage of this coach, right? Exactly. You just got to do it. So.
Exactly, and that's one thing I see. You know, I've had it, and I see Carlin with it now, and it's just like I wish I kind of was younger than Carlin to see and to learn, because he is just very like, this is what we're doing. This is my decision. You can bark at me all you want. Guess what? It's white noise to me. And, you know, and I kind of wish in my younger career of coaching that I kind of did that too. But I kind of let that kind of barking get under my skin a little bit. But I mean, you know, he has it to a point to where it's just like, say your piece, like my mom would always say, I'll let you have your opinion, but at the end of the day, my decision is final.
Right.
And that's how I've tried to coach a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. And Colin has his ways that have been successful, and you can either choose to be a part of that or choose not to be a part of that. Right.
Exactly.
And you know, we've all seen what he's done and what he's starting to bring to that program in particular. Again, not trying to jump too far ahead, but obviously as a parent, you got to decide, do I want to put up with that or not? I was going to ask you, is he as intense in the room as he is on the mat?
Oh, he is. But him coaching with me, the first time we coached was at Killer Duels in Indiana. And like, I just kind of just like, you know, I got in my coaching mode, and he looked at me, he was like, damn, yeah, you're intense. I was like, dude, it's go time. Like he was like, he looked at me, he was like, this year's going to be fun. Because, you know, it's like someone has to control us, because if not, we're going to be all over the place. But he is intense. Colin has a passion like no other. You know, he's a 4-time state champ. He loves the sport. He's a student of the game. And, you know, I'm a student of the game in a different way. And then we also have Tom Jones on the staff, and he's a student of the game a different way. And we all just mesh. So Colin, I mean, we're all intense, and we all kind of like have to, you know, pull each other back to that chair and stuff. And so, I mean, it's he is, but at the same time, he's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun.
Good. Well, he does get a lot of respect, even, you know, especially with the wrestlers and even the parents too. So, all right, now I want to back up. So let's go back to that homeless period of time in your life. Was that before or after Steubenville? What age were you when that happened?
I was around 10 when that happened.
Okay.
We ended up so my parents were divorced and everything like that, and my dad was supposed to be paying child support and everything. He had a very good job working in the steel mill back home and everything, and it just happened all of a sudden. He was ordered to pay a portion of the mortgage and stuff like that they had, the house that bought, and he just didn't pay it. So, you know, I'm at school one day, I'm at Lincoln Elementary, and I'll show how that ties why I mentioned that name. Lincoln Elementary School, and my mom's friend comes and pulls me out of school, and I go home, and there's nothing there. Everything's gone out the house. And for a kid who's in 5th grade, you're just kind of like, what's going on? Yeah. You know, she explained the situation. We went and stayed with my aunt for a while, and then she decided to ship me off to my uncle up in New York. I lived with him for 3 years. While I was up there, again, I really wasn't a sports kid. I really wasn't into anything. I lied. I actually kind of got into hockey a little bit. You know, with the Rangers and stuff like that. When you move to New York, you have to become a sports fan, and it's the Rangers, the Yankees, and the Giants.
Right.
For me, it was. And
you didn't get into lacrosse while you were out there, huh?
No lacrosse for me. It was hockey, and just the physicality of hockey just, you know, drew me to it, you know, and that should have been kind of just kind of a thing to tell me you should get into wrestling.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed street hockey and rollerblading and stuff like that. I didn't get on the ice much, but just, you know, street hockey and playing with the kids and being aggressive, hip checking, you know, if I didn't get into wrestling, I would have been a hockey player. I probably would have been a goon because
right.
I just loved it, and I was into it. And actually, my science teacher in New York, he kind of saw it in me, and he was trying to get me to come out to wrestle. And I was like, no, my brother wrestles, because at the time when I was up there, my brother was I think getting ready to graduate out of Ohio State.
Okay.
And Russ Hellickson had his camps, and they had put my brother on a poster. And they couldn't make enough posters because people were, you know, seeing my brother and they knew who he was. And, you know, he sent some to me and I was giving them out to the kids. And they were just like, oh, my God, like, who's this guy who's wrestling? I was like, you know, that's my brother. He's a multi-time state champ, blah, blah. And, I mean, you know, kids were just asking for them. They left and right. And, you know, he was trying to get me out. And I was just like, that's my brother. That's not me. You know, again, it's that mentality of, you know, when you try to say, oh, your brother's doing it, you want to do it? It's like, nah, it's not for me. It's not for me. Huh. But we ended up, they ended up having a fallout. My uncle gave me kind of an ultimatum of like, you know, do you want to stay here? Do you want to go with your mom? I went with my mom. We were homeless for about half a year, moving from shelter to shelter on Long Island. Probably, again, the best time of my life because my mom made it an adventure. You know, she told me, she said, you know, you are the definition of ghetto fabulous because you don't, her famous saying was, you don't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. Uh-huh. And nobody would know you don't, just because, again, the way you carry yourself.
I love it. That's great.
You know, that was just, you know, she just, you know, just said, you know, I see that in you. I see that, you know, you don't let anything get to you. And if it does, nobody knows it. So, you know, we you know, hopped from shelter to shelter on Long Island. And then she asked me again, she says, hey, do you want to go back home or do you want to try to make this work up here? I said, let's head back home. And, you know, we went back home, stayed with my brother, Jamar. He's the one next to me. There's 9 years between me and him.
Okay.
So we stayed with him. I went to Harding. I ended up actually moving out from them and actually going to stay with my dad's brother, who my uncle Nate, who was a very good football player. My dad and him were good football players for Wintersville.
Okay.
Back when it was Wintersville, not Indian Creek.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So I ended up staying with him while I was going to Harding, played football and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of influences in my life, and a lot of people kind of trying to guide me the right way through life. So.
I tell you what, it sounds like, you know, that's a period of your life, 10 years old. That's very impressionable. And the upheaval and the lack of, I mean, were you going to school at the time?
Yeah.
6 months?
I was going to school. The way that they do it in New York was, you know, we were staying in shelters, but, you know, my mom, she was a hustler. Like she would say, I had to steal from Peter, Paul, Mary, and sometimes Jesus and stick my hand in God's pocket when he's not looking. You know, she was a hustler. And so what they would do is they would basically give me a bus, or the short bus, basically. That's the bus I would take. Okay. And it would drive me all the way from wherever we were at, all the way to the school that I was still going to.
Okay.
So that way it didn't disturb anything, or I wasn't hopping from school to school to school. You know, so they made that happen to where I was still consistent with going to the same school.
Good.
And I did that for, I think, like 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Stuff. So, you know, I was consistent, you know, and that really helped a lot, kind of keeping me on a straight and narrow path and not, you know, putting me in newer environments every time we moved somewhere. So that was really nice, that I was able to do that. And again, like I said, we moved back home, went to Harding and stuff, and, you know, we're rolling in 8th grade.
So it sounds like, again, what I was getting at was a lot of upheaval at that time of any young man's life can create all kinds of issues in adulthood. But you've got this positive mentality, and it sounds like your mom had an incredible influence on you, but you also mentioned other people, like a hodgepodge of people. How does somebody at 10 years old take all of that positive when really look around you, there's not a whole lot of positivity going on? How did you piece all that together?
Everybody let me be a kid. That was the big thing. I look back on it, and it was like nobody's told me you have to grow up now, or you have to, you know, you're in a bad situation. It was, you know, protect me at all costs. You know, I'm the baby. I'm the baby of my family with my 4 older brothers, and also I'm the baby out of all my cousins. So, you know, I was the last one, and everybody was like, you know, protect me at all costs. And, you know, and everybody loved my mom. And so it was like, you know, you're in a hardship. Okay, we'll protect Carlin, and we'll make sure he is all right for you. And so, you know, it was the village taking care of the child.
Okay.
And the boils down to. And like I said, it was, you know, I was allowed to still be a kid, but at the same time, growing up in the household I did with my uncle in New York, I kind of had to kind of grow up probably a little bit quicker than I really had to. But it, again, shaped me and formed me into the person that I am today. You know, I was put in situations where I had to kind of, you know, step up and be that person. I'm a shy kid. I was a shy kid. I'm a shy person now. I don't like people, but yet people love me. But yeah, you know, I know how to talk to people and stuff like that. And so, you know, it was kind of a protect me at all costs thing. The village raising me, and, you know, them just, you know, everybody loving my mom and making sure that I was fine, and making sure that I could be a kid for as long as I could be.
That's awesome. That's so cool that, you know, the village has such an influence on you in a positive way, and really things could go south, it sounds like, at almost every turn. So, all right, so let's get caught back up. You move. So how much, I mean, you mentioned it before, and I don't want to make a huge factor out of it, but I know it's part of your story. You're on Long Island, and you're the only person of color that you pretty much know, not many. And then you mentioned that you're the only maybe one of 2 in your school when you get to West Virginia. Does race play into your story at all?
It doesn't. Surprisingly, it doesn't. It's funny because I remember it now, and it wasn't a big deal, but at the time it was like, you know, oh my God, you know, do we offend you? So, you know, I'm in West Virginia, you know, I'm in, and not, you know, further south, you know, I'm in northern part of West Virginia, which is pretty liberal. And this is when before I joined the football team and stuff like that. And there was an incident where a couple football players were they had went across the river and was driving around with Confederate flags, on their truck. And you know, not harming anybody, not calling anybody an N-word or anything like that. They were just driving around. They were just being kids. Yeah. And the head coach, Tomaselli, that's his name. He's a cool guy. I loved him to death. He was a cool dude. He came up to me. He was like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you offended?" And I'm like, "For what?" I was like, well, you know, they're these kids, you know, they're rednecks. So I said, it doesn't bother me. Like that, you know, they weren't chasing after me in the backwoods or they were trying to catch me. Right. You know, they were just doing what they were doing. He goes, okay, well, I just wanted to make sure because you know you're the only black guy here. And I was like, wow. I said I didn't even hear about it until you said something to me about it. But it's never been like I said, it's the way I carried myself. You know, my mom, and I mention her a lot because she was my world. She actually passed away this past November.
Oh.
But she, you know, she told me one time, because she was watching, she was keeping my nephew, and he was going to Indian Creek, and you know, she was like, I don't understand how you went 4 years in a school where you were the only black male and never got called out your name. No one ever called you, you know, a nigger or anything like that. But yet your nephew, who is mixed, went to Indian Creek and got called every other name under the book.
Huh.
So it doesn't make any sense to me. And I said, well, you told me. It's the way I carried myself. I demanded respect. You know, it didn't matter who was from or anything like that. I carried myself to kind of, don't try me, you know. And then, you know, and it also too did kind of help too that everybody knew our last name and knew my brothers and everything like that. So it was like, you know, if you say something stupid to him, guess who you're going to deal with? You're dealing with, you know, his brothers. So, so yeah, it was just, it never played a factor with me. And I can say that I'm very fortunate because I've known people like my nephew or like other people that I've talked to who, you know, that's played a factor in their life. But with me, again, it's just been the way I carried. And no one has said anything to my face, at least, you know, maybe behind my back, but to my face, never.
All right, so let's get onto the sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school. You're wrestling. I'm hoping you at least made it. You had a chance to try to make it back to the state tournament, right?
Yeah, my sophomore year was kind of a bust. There was just a lot of things going on with me, grade-wise, and everything. I was still on the team up until grades came out again, and then I kind of fell off. Our assistant coach, Patrick Klee, I was really, really close to him. A lot of the guys were, ended up killing himself.
Wow.
That was a big blow, just because I've never had anybody that be that close to me. Like, you know, my grandmother and everything like that. You know, when I was little, they passed and stuff, but not someone who I saw every day, not someone who interacted with me, and not someone who cared that much outside of my family. And that was just a really big blow to a lot of us. And, you know, he was kind of at the time, he was kind of the second head coach. You know, the head coach at the time had his good kids that, you know, his kids that he's had for, you know, 3 years. And, you know, here comes, you know, the younger guys who, you know, are trying to find their way into the fold. And it's just, you know, he was just kind of like the second head coach and kind of really kind of, you know, mentored us and everything like that. So, you know, when he killed himself, it was a really, really, really big blow to us, and the team and everything like that. So,
and it sounds like it affected your, I'm not just saying your performance on the mat, but your grades and everything, right?
Yeah. And it was just, you know, he was that one of a kind coach that would take the shirt off his back, would give you his house if he could, just, you know, take care of you. You know, he introduced us to his girlfriend and her kids, and we ended up going over there, hanging out with them and stuff like that. And he was going to marry this woman, and he just took his life. And that was just a really, really big shock to all of us. And, you know, we just, you know, when we heard it, for me, I've driven in the car with him several times. So when I heard he had passed, I was like, you got into a wreck. I was like, I know how you drive. And I was just like, damn it, you know, you drove too fast. But then when I heard he killed himself, it was like, that's not the way. That's not how we were, you know, that's not how he was supposed to go out.
Wow.
And the crazy part about that was our assistant coach, Jeff Miller, volunteer firefighter, got the call.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
When they called, they knew, he said, that address sounds familiar. And when he got to the house, he said, I know that guy. And that was just really, really hard on him. And it was hard on us. And it really was. And it was just crazy. And on a side note, kind of a spooky thing. The night it happened, like I said, I didn't know about it until the next morning. But the night it happened, I kind of woke up in the middle of the night and I saw something walk across my room. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I got up that morning and I asked my mom. I said, Mom, were you in my room last night? And she's like, no. I asked my brother, so were you in the room? They said no. I said, okay. Went to school, heard that news, and and I'm with one of my teammates and friends, and we're talking, and I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, I think he, I'm not a spiritual. I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not into ghosts and stuff like that. I said, I think he walked and was looking over me, and I was just like, I was kind of freaked, but at the same time, I was like, dude, like that's Pat, that's Coach, checking over us to make sure, hey, you're good, you're okay, you're good.
Wow.
But yeah, that was a devastating blow that year, and it wasn't a good year. My junior year was another kind of I was on it. I was on it, winning tournaments, stuff like that. And middle of December, actually, no, it was beginning of January, I quit.
Huh.
I said to myself, and I hope no one kind of quits wrestling because of what I'm about to say, but it was like, I said to myself, why am I doing this? I said, why am I putting my body through this? Why am I putting my body through this for a medal or for a piece of plastic? I said, what? This makes no sense. And I quit. And both my coaches, Coach Lesho and Coach Larkey, they're like, dude, you're on a roll. Like, this doesn't make sense. Why are you quitting? And I just said, I've been doing this for, since 8th grade. It was my junior year. I was like, I'm not into it. So, they let me quit very reluctantly. And then Jamie called me. He said, hey, I said, how are you feeling? I said, I'm all right. But I kind of knew what the call was. I was like, but I'm not coming back. I'm all right, but I'm not coming back. And he said, hey, I pitched you in the OVAC tournament. I go, well, I'm not wrestling in it. So you can, he goes, no, just listen. He goes, I pitch you in to see where they would seed you at, just because. And he goes, they pitch you at 6th place. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. He goes, do me a favor. He goes, come back, wrestle that tournament. After that, you can quit. Wrestle that one tournament. And if you don't have the passion and you don't want to wrestle, I will leave you alone. And I'm a person, and I respect the hell out of Jamie. I love him to death. And I said, okay. So I came back, practiced for a week. And then the next week was OVACs. And I came back, and the fire just lit back. And it was like, I ended up not placing, but I was like, let's go. And
so I thought you were going to say you won the whole thing or something. That lit the fire. So you didn't even place, but your coach was smart enough to know that maybe you just needed to get out there,
exactly.
Step back on the mat and fall in love with the sport again or something.
Yeah, I wish I can say I went back out there, beat up everybody, pinned everybody all the way to the finals.
Yeah.
But no, I was just like, let's go, and it was states. It was like, let's get there. And I had the passion, I had the fire, and and he was just on me. And I kind of we were in kind of like an impasse a little bit with the team in general. And we had a wrestler from Burgestown who came to Madonna. Burgestown, PA, came from Madonna. His name is Brad Nicka. Really cool dude, really good wrestler. If there was a picture of a perfect wrestler that had the look, Brad had the look, hands down. And that was kind of his best shot for a state title was Brad. And stuff. So, he kind of put all of his eggs with Brad. And like I said, going back with Patrick, with being kind of the second head coach, right. The rest of us were kind of lost. So, the team kind of chose me, the shy person who didn't like speaking to anybody. Hey, go talk to coach and tell him how we all feel. And I was like, I just got back on the team. Well, why me? And it was like, no, like he'll listen to you and he'll, you know, he won't yell at you. Maybe because I'm black, I don't know what it might be, but it was like he won't say anything. Like, you know, he'll talk to you, but yes, the rest of us won't. So I was like, all right. So I went up to him, you know, right after the OVC tournament. And I said, hey, I said, the guys feel like, you know, you're all about Brad. I said, you know, the rest of us kind of feel like we're you know, just here. And, you know, and we talked for about a good, I think like 30 minutes. And he was like, you know, thanks for coming and telling me. He goes, because you're right. That's, you know, he goes, I didn't realize I was doing it until someone said I was doing it. And, you know, that's where we kind of really bond, just the closeness and respect that I had for him, the admiration I had for him and stuff. And so, you know,
it sounds like your team, even though you had just got back, like you said, they looked at you like a leader. The silent leader sometimes are the best leaders, right?
Yeah. You
and
know,
they said, you get out there and you do this. I don't think they were even throwing you under the bus. I think they were just, they knew what you were capable of.
Yeah. And, you know, and that's just something that I just never, you know, I was just like, why me? Like, you know, I'm, you know, in my own head, I'm this short person who doesn't say anything, who doesn't try to rattle anything unless provoked. But, you know, they just was like, go talk with him and go, you know, say that. And I'm just like, okay. And I went with him, I talked with him. We had a good talk. He kind of refocused as a coach. I kind of refocused as a wrestler, you know, and we went rolling during the season. Ended up going to regionals, taking third, qualifying for state, and went to state, made it to the blood round, I do believe, and just again just couldn't make it. Couldn't make it to place, but you know, it was an experience, and I looking back, I kind of wish I didn't take that week off, but I needed that week to miss it. I needed that week to kind of refocus, and kind of going through a lot too, because that's the year I came out, my junior year. So I kind of had to. I known since a young age who I was and everything. I knew I was gay, but I knew it wasn't accepted. So I kind of kept it to myself. You know, I dated the girl thing and everything like that and all that stuff. And I just kept it to myself. And I could say it in my head, but I never said it out loud. And I never said it, you know, to anybody else, or even looked in the mirror and even said it. And there was just a lot of stuff going on that year with that. So, you know,
who did you talk to first about it? Was it your mom?
Nah, it was actually my friend Katie. I talked to her about it first. Again, me being a shy kid, and my friend Katie being the DirecTV satellite, I thought if I told her, it would project out everywhere. And she kept that secret better than anything that I've ever told her.
So you wanted her to tell other people because you didn't want to have to. Is that right?
Yeah. I kind of knew if, you know, and I kind of knew if I told, and she might cuss me out for this, but I knew if I told the gossip queen, gossip would spread.
Right.
And, you know, and I would be able to kind of control it or confront it as I wanted to. But it, you know, she just kind of kept it to herself. And, you know, she was just really, I think she really appreciated the fact that she was the first person that I ever spoke that to. And so, you know, she kept a secret, you know, and then there was just times where I could have said something and I didn't, but it was in the middle of the wrestling season actually. And we had, I think it was Sadie Hawkins or some winter formal dance or whatever like that. And I was actually dating a girl at the time. Funny story. And I had told Katie, but then I started telling people here and there. And it started to spread around. And so at the end of the dance, actually the girl I was dating, we didn't go to the dance together. We went with friends. And by the end of the dance, she came up to me and she was like, so can we talk? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And she's like, so I hear that you're gay. And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, okay, well, does this mean we're still dating? I said, no, I think it's over now, and stuff. And, it spread around and everything. And I actually ended up having a party at my house later that night. And a lot of my friends found out that night in my own house. And it was just like, everybody was shocked and taken back. And, it's kind of like, but you're black. It wasn't so much like you're straight or, you act a certain way. It's like, well, you're black, Carlin. That's not what I see on TV as representation of a gay man.
Yeah. Stereotypes again, right?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be that way, right?
Exactly. And so, it was just kind of like, all right, well, and everybody was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. All right, cool. Like, okay, that's fine. And one of the funnier stories that I heard was my friend Paul, who was on a wrestling team with me. We wrestled. Me and him were the only two freshmen on the team when we both started. And he went home, and the way his mom tells the story is so funny. And she was like, Paul came home and was like, Mom. Actually, no. She was like, I saw something was wrong on his face. She said, Paul, what's wrong? He was like, Mom, Carlin just told us he was gay. And she was like, well, okay. How do you feel? And he was like, well, I don't know. He's still Carlin, but he's gay. And she was like, well, has anything changed about him? And he was like, no. He goes, is he the same person he was before he told you? Yeah. Well, then there's your answer. I mean, he hasn't changed. This is a part of him. It's not him. He's not, wearing the high heel shoes and having the purses. It's just who he loves. So accept him because he's still your friend. And, and it was just like, like I had a lot of people apologize to me, like I said something about gay people and I want to say, I'm sorry. And I was like, did you say I should be on that? Like some people were like, they should put all gay people on the island and blow it up. I was like, did you say, Carlin, you should be on that island and blow it up? No. Well, then you didn't offend me. I'm the type of person you can have your opinion about whatever, as long as you show me respect. If you hate gay people, cool. But if you like me, then we're cool then. If you hate black people, but you like me, cool. I really don't, everybody's different. Everybody has their likes and dislikes. And it's something that I've always been is just, you can have your opinion. And, the same way my mom let me have my opinion. But as long as you treat me with respect, and as long as we're cool, you can say whatever you want to say, but it's not going to bother me because as long as you don't direct it toward me, then we're cool.
So this was what, late 90s, early 2000s?
This was 99. This was 99, 2000. Yeah.
Okay, so you're making everything sound so easy because nothing was easy in those times. They weren't, right? Yeah. I love the story. I love the way it ended up, and I love your friends, your support group. I love what your friend's mom said. Mm-hmm. I love that part of the story, but I want to make sure everybody listening to this knows that that's not how society was looking at this back then.
It wasn't, and I remember. I can't remember when it was. I think it was like 99, maybe 2000. I remember sitting back and watching C-SPAN because, I would randomly watch C-SPAN, and there was like a LGBT rally, and they had this gay football player on, this white gay football player speaking at this rally. And, and he was talking about his teammates and everything like that. And I'm just like, wow, okay, that's cool, but that's not me. I can't relate to that person. I hear his story, but that's not representation of me. And it kind of like, was kind of like, well, there's more than just him. There's a ton of athletes out there who, are going through the bad and going through the good. And I kind of just sat back and was like, they should do their research a little bit more And that's not, that's not the stereotype that, it's only white men who are gay. It's Black men, it's Latino men, it's Indian men. And so it was just really kind of like, I kind of sat back and watched it, and I kind of had a little bit of resentment toward it. I was like, there's a lot more out there than just him. But you're picking him because he's the poster boy, so to speak, of it. But I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky. I've had friends who have had horror stories. Actually, not too long ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I got a call from my friend out in San Francisco, Roger Brigham, who's an Ohio native, about a trans boy getting bullied off the wrestling team down around Cincinnati. Huh. It was very hush hush. The parent didn't want to make a big deal out of it or anything like that. And the person had a passion for wrestling and wanted to do it, and stuff like that. But the coach found out the person was trans and then told the whole team, and the team just went after them, verbally. I don't know if there was any physical abuse, but he put me in the email with him, and he said, this is Carlin Yetts. He's up in Columbus. If you have anything you need, he's there for you. And nothing really came of it, but it's like, you should be protecting kids. You shouldn't be, pitting everybody's business out there like that and stuff. And then that just really kind of stuck under my craw that, years after I came out, you had this trans kid who is, being bullied off the wrestling team. Yeah. Especially because the wrestling doesn't have big numbers all the time. And it's like, you have somebody who wants to prove themselves on the mat, and here you are doing that. And, like I said, and on the flip side, in 2099, I have my coach, my teammates, my school embracing me and huddling around me and protecting me. Yeah. Because they all know who I am and my character. It's just, I happen to go against a lot of their personal beliefs. But at the same time, they know me. They know the person I am. And if they can see the person I am, their beliefs can be pushed to the side because I'm not trying to date them or I'm not trying to hit on them or anything like that. So it's like, that's still Carlin there. It's just he likes men, So it was never a difficult road for me. I even had friends who was like, yeah, we'll protect you. And anyone messes with you, tell us. And I'm like, I can handle myself, guys. Like, I'm not this, small person. But again, it was another point of the community rallying around me and protecting me and letting me be myself without any question, because they knew me. And it was just, that's kind of what made my years at Madonna that much more better. Was like, if there was any real Christians, they were, because they practiced what they preached, and they made sure to love me, whether in their eyes I was a sinner or whatever. They still said, that's still Carlin, that's our guy, let's protect him. And so that was just that's what made those years just phenomenal.
That's amazing. I mean, again, I don't want to kill the point here. Mm-hmm. The point is your story, but just to know how rare that is, and maybe you know what? Maybe it's me seeing the wrong story, getting the wrong story from whatever, the news or social media or whatever, the poster boy, like what you said, and not being aware like I should be. But to hear that, it just gives me hope. I mean, we have a saying, wrestling is for everybody.
Yep.
You're big and maybe a little overweight and kind of dopey. You're the heavyweight. Yep. You're little.
You got to talk for everybody.
Yeah, you're scrawny, and you probably played, who knows, back in my day, too much video games or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you're the lightweight. But guess what? By the way, white, black, gay, straight, it's a team. It's for everybody. And this team comes together, and they, like you said, they embrace it. What a perfect story. What a perfect analogy of what really a wrestling team's all about.
Yeah, and I mean, it was something that, like I said, wasn't shied about. It wasn't something that I flaunted in everybody's face. Hey, my name's Carlin. I'm gay. You know, anything like that. It was, hey, Carlin's gay. He's a wrestler. Don't fuck with him. You know, it was, you know, kind of in that sense. And I mean, getting on the mat, wrestling guys, you know, it's not a sexual thing. You know, I've had some people talk to me and go, "Oh my God, you're a wrestler. Oh, is that turning you on?" I go, "No, it doesn't. I'm there to kick someone's ass, win the fucking match. If they want to talk to me after the match, cool. But until then,
Right.
I'm out there to win." And that's just, that's the mentality that I have about wrestling. It's never been going down that road of making it sexualized and stuff like that and everything. But like I said, just everybody embraced me. The coaches found out, the teammates found out, and it was, you're Carlin, dude, like, cool. And going into my senior year, I actually started football at 2:30, and we wrestled the first tournament, and I wrestled 2:15, and I got beat, not just beat, I got choked out. I literally passed out by a guy named Nick Busick, who, if the name sounds familiar, his dad is actually a former professional wrestler, Big Bully Busick.
Okay, yeah.
And they're just, and Nick was just Nick was the miniature version of his father, and he put me in a cradle so tight it cut off blood to my brain, and I literally just passed out.
Wow.
And I laid there, and I jumped up. I said, "Okay, let's go." My coach was like, "The match is over." He goes, "You passed out." I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "All right," and ended up taking third that tournament. And my coach, Coach Lesho, came to me. He goes, "Dude," he goes, "what are you doing?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "There is nobody at 171. He goes, "You should not be up here with these big guys." He goes, "Go." And I never cut weight. I never had to cut weight wherever I weighed at. I wrestled, just hard practicing, everything like that. I never really had to like watch my diet and cut weight. He goes, "Get down. There's nobody at 71. 71 is yours for the taking if you get down there." And I was like, "Oh, but I got to cut weight." And he goes, "Trust me." So I said, "Okay." So I cut out the pop. I cut out the salt. I kind of, did it the right way. When back then, everybody was wearing the garbage bags and stuff. I think actually the year before my senior year, I think it was like a Michigan wrestler or somebody from up north died because they were in a wrestling room that was super hot. They had the garbage bags on, the sauna suit on, and they ended up cooking their own liver.
Yeah.
So, weight cutting back then was, the wild, wild west. But, I ate right. I cut out the bad stuff and everything like that. And I ended up that tournament was in November, I think. By middle of December, I hit 71. So I went from 230, the start of football season, all the way to 171, doing it the right way, and cutting weight the right way. And 171 was mine. I ran through a couple tournaments and stuff like that. My movement was quicker. I was a defensive wrestler. I hated shooting with a passion. And my coach would always go, "Why don't you shoot? You have a good shot in practice." I'm a defensive wrestler. I can wait for someone to come at me. I can look like I'm doing something, but I'm a defensive wrestler. Uh-huh. And I was just running through people. And we got to the OVACs, and I was seated, I believe, fourth in the OVACs. And our crosstown rival was Weir High. That was the school. So we were Weir Madonna. They were Weir High. And so I ended up meeting second round my crosstown rival, long, lengthy kid at 71. And the match was, it was a back and forth match. And we were tied going into the third, or like the last, no, we were tied going like the last 20 seconds. And he caught me in a half. And I was a very good bridger. I knew bridge on my head and everything like that. I could bridge and flip straight over. That's just how flexible I am. And it was like 1 second left. And right when I went to, no, I think it was, I can't remember. I'm getting old. But right when I went to bridge, on the top of my head, the ref called the pin with 1 second left. And like, I lost my mind. I cussed out the official. I cussed out the head table. I lost my mind because I was like, dude, there's no way he can pin me. Like, there's no way. And I had a couple choice words for some other people. I mean, I lost my mind, and that was totally out of character of me. But one of my goals for that season was not to get pinned. And he was the only one who pinned me that season. And I was just losing it. And I went back on the mat, wrestled a kid from Lindsley High School in West Virginia. And I was an asshole. I was a total asshole, and I didn't mean to be. But he caught the brunt of just a lot of just built up aggression. And the coach from Lindsay, funny story, when I went to go shake his hand, he kind of pulled me in. He said, hey, he goes, you know how you were your freshman year, and that's a freshman. And you remember when our senior had you and how much he treated you with respect. And you know, at the time I was like, what the fuck ever. And I look back on it a couple years afterwards, and I was like, that was wrong of me to do. That was really wrong of me to do. And funny story. So going back to my freshman year, wrestling the Lindsay guy, who I'm all of 5'7", you know, kind of a chubby 89, and he's cut built 89, 6 feet, you know, 8 inches.
Yeah.
Probably going to college to play football somewhere. He literally took the shot. Again, I'm a defensive wrestler. He took the shot, picked me up, sat me down on both shoulders, picked me right back up, stuck me on my feet. and my coach was like, at least he was nice about it. Like, you know, he could have took you down and beat you up, but he tapped you. Boop, there you go. And you know, I thought about that a couple years later, and I was like, you know, that was really shit thing for me to do. And you know, and I'm very, very big on sportsmanship. And like I tell all my kids, you know, it doesn't matter how you're feeling or what the last match was, you know, take it out on them, but don't take it out on them to be an asshole. You know, take it out on them to, you know, win the match. Yep. And you know, that was something that always stuck with me. That was just a teaching moment. Yeah. But I ended up letting my head get the best of me and not placing at OVACs that year and stuff. So going on our last actually going back to the beginning of that season, we actually so we wrestled Lindsley. That was our first dual meet. Okay. And my coach, Coach Lesho, had never won a dual meet in his career. I think he's been coaching since I want to say maybe mid 90s or something like that. He was an 80s graduate, late 80s graduate. He never won a dual meet. Huh. And that was one of my goals that year, was to win him his first dual meet. And so we're wrestling Lindsay cadets. And I recruited my ass off. I got friends to come out. I was like, dude, you guys got to come out and wrestle. You know, it's our senior year. You got to do something. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll come on and wrestle. And we put a team together. Me and my friend Paul, we got our friends on there. We had some freshmen and some lower classmen who were on the team and stuff like that. And we recruited our asses off. And, you know, we got there, didn't know how we were going to do. We tied it up with Lindsay. It came down to the last match. And my friend Ian, he is not athletic at all. No athletic, doesn't have a build whatsoever. And he pinned the kid, and we lost our minds. And I remember going to coach, and I said, "That's for you. That's for you. That's your first ever win." And that like it was awesome. And that was kind of what my goal my senior year wasn't so much about me winning. At the beginning of the year, my coach had told us, he said, how people are going to remember you, it's nice to have your name up on the wall, state titles, you know, placing, stuff like that. He goes, but the way people are going to remember you is by what you do. what you show them. He goes, if someone shows you a move, you're going to pass that on to someone and go, hey, this guy named Carlin Yetts showed me this move. Let me show it to you. That's how your name lives on. People are going to always come into a room and see you, but your name's going to get passed on by what you give back to the sport.
Yeah, the impression that you make. Yeah.
And that's something that stuck with me. And my senior year, like I said, it wasn't about me winning state. It wasn't about me, doing things. It was just me making sure what we built kept going. And like I said, just a whole different mindset from my junior year to my senior year.
Yeah.
And stuff. But that was just one thing that we just kind of just, that was my focus, was that. And like I said, we won him his first dual meet, and everything like that. We won him his first city championships, going back to our city rival, him beating me in the OVACs. We get it's a week before regionals, and we have a dual meet against them. We have a dual meet against Weir High, and then our rival, Willing Central, which was the Catholic school in Willing, West Virginia. They were our rival too. It came up to 171 weight class, and he was sick. And it's well played. He had the win over me. So going into regionals, he would be seated above me, and we all kind of, was like, oh, you fucking punk. Okay. All right. I'll see you at regionals. All right. So, we win the duel and everything like that. We go into regionals. And this is back when it was stacked. 71 was tough. Just kids from Oak Glen, kids from down south. It was a really tough weight class. And Oak Glen back then, Oak Glen, West Virginia, they are what Dublin Kaufman is now.
Okay,
that's what Oak Glen was. They were turning out kids. They had the youth program going back when it really wasn't big to have one, and they were just turning kids out all the time. And so we got there. Me and him actually ended up going for third and fourth, and I had it. This is the only time I ever shot. I said, well, takedown. And come third period, I was up, and it was like 20 seconds left on the clock, and I just started circling. I didn't even take a shot. I just started circling, and the ref hit me for stalling. And I remember looking at the ref, and I said, I won the match already. I don't care. I know where I'm at. and so we went down. I took third. He took fourth. Went to state that year. Ended up taking fifth.
Okay.
That year, which was really nice to get on the podium finally and everything, and stuff. And that was my high school career. It was really fun. Like I said, a lot of ups and downs, but it created the person I am today doing that. And it was just really kind of one thing my coach, James Lesho, one thing he really liked about me, he hated me not shooting, but the one thing he liked about me, and it's one thing I'm trying to teach my kids, and I've taught my kids in the past, is when you step off the mat, you should be able to tell me everything that went wrong. And I was such a student of the game. After any match, he goes, "What did you win? A win or loss? What did you do wrong? This, and this." He's like, "Cool, good talk," because I was a student of the game, and I remember I was talking with him. He turned into the assistant and was like, "That's the thing I like about Carlin. He can tell me what he did wrong, and I don't have to say anything to him." And that's just when I heard him say that, it was like, everybody else doesn't do that. Why? You're in the match, you should know, and that's something even now with the kids I coach now. It's like, tell me what you did. Don't get mad and throw stuff and be mad. Tell me what you did wrong and stuff like that. So that's what kind of really he doesn't know this, but he really shaped me to be the man that I am today. We butt heads a couple of times and stuff like that, but he was like the second father to me, and I love him to death and would do anything for that man.
Well, you have ample opportunity to to have that impression on your athletes now. In fact, we were just at the girls' state tournament. So you've got, you had two, right? Rebecca and Adamar. So I would imagine that you take that same philosophy with them. They come off the mat, and I don't mean any disrespect to them at all, but there's things that they had to learn or do wrong, right? That they're learning the sport from you, basically, is what you're giving.
Yeah, Rebecca's been in it since she was a freshman. Adamar, she was in Whetstone Wrestling Club with Tom Jones.
Okay,
who's now an assistant with me at DeSales, and girls get it. Girls get it. Boys struggle with it. Girls get it, and them two, they knew what they did. I didn't have to sit there, I would give them pointers on maybe this is what you should do, but it was like, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. I tried to throw her, I slipped out. I don't it was never really a long conversation. I'm a big fan of video. I know you kind of saw me running around with the tripod and the iPad, and I'm running around. And that I kind of learned in my youth years coaching youth wrestling, that you need to sit and go over exactly what happened, because people's minds are all over the place. Wrestling's mental. They're freaking out, whatever like this. There's this one kid I coached named Evan when I was at Dodge. And in practice, he was shots, taking kids down, everything. He go out into, when we were at tournaments, it was what I call the Etch-a-Sketch effect. You draw a nice picture, and then you would shake it, it all disappeared. And he wouldn't, he would be mad and upset, and he's young, and he's like, I don't get why it's not working. It works in practice, but it doesn't work here. And I literally sat down with him, showed him the video, and he was like, oh, that's it? I said, yeah. He go out there, beat, and he got it, and it's all because of video. And like I said, mostly with the girls, with Rebecca and them, it was, coach, let me see my match. Let me see the video. I'd sit with them. This looked good. This needs to change, whatever like that. Cool. I felt, or they would go, I felt that I couldn't do that, but I tried it and I didn't hit it. And it was like, it wasn't a whole big, you did this wrong, you need to do this, blah, blah, blah. It was cool. You get it. I get it. Let's fix it in the next match. Let's go.
So much more receptive. Much more receptive. Oh my God. I can't even, we do a separate podcast about girls wrestling versus boys wrestling. Cause you just see it, being on the sidelines of being a fan, and the love and the respect for the sport and the growth. I mean, Adamar grew tremendously this year in the sport. And Rebecca, incredibly well since her freshman year, like what you said.
For Adamar, for a person who took 7 years off, didn't wrestle for 7 years, and when I asked her, and we stalked her. I told Rebecca, I said, find out her homeroom, stalk her, get her in this room. And she finally came back. With COVID, she was worried about a couple of things. And when we get into the end of the season, I said, why did you decide to wrestle this year? She goes, I wanted to leave my mark. And I was like, wow. But you decided your senior year to do it? Like, come on. You had 4 years, but it was like, I wanted to leave my mark. I wanted to put my name up somewhere to where I was remembered.
Yeah. And
for her to, like I said, when I first saw her, when our first match, we were at Hamilton Township. And, I'm a big thrower. I love throwing people, not head and arms, but, seat belts, over-unders, Japanese wizards. I love throwing people. I love sending people on fireman's carries. And she hit a seatbelt throw. And I was like, this is my girl. Let's go. And I got up and I said, because she didn't do it in practice. She didn't do it at all in practice. And I said, so you're a thrower? She goes, yeah, I love to throw. I was like, here we go. Strap on your seatbelts. Let's go.
Yeah.
And, with Rebecca, Rebecca, she has, I've seen it. I've seen it a couple times. I've seen it in spurts, a mean streak of where she focuses in and it's go time. She's friends with everybody. She talks to all the girls and everything like that. And that's good to have. I think that's the big difference between boys and girls wrestling. All the girls want to be friends with each other and everything like that. The boys are like, I'm going to kick your ass, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it's like Rebecca, she's friends with everybody. She knows everybody, everything like that. But there's times when, she would hone in. and I'd see it on her face, and I'd see that look of like, I'm gonna kick your ass. This is mine today. And I see it, and I'm like, why can't I have it all the time? And she's like, oh, it'll come and go. And I'm just like, no, it needs to stay. It needs to be all the time. But they're just two girls who are just, they have a passion for the sport, and they're just awesome. They're just awesome to be around, and they're fun. It's fun. And the one thing I like about girls wrestling, and I talked to a couple officials about this too, like when you go, everybody's into it. Doesn't matter what school they're from, doesn't matter what, the crowd is in it. Boy, like I was just at our sectional at Licking Valley, and like half the time it's quiet unless someone has brought a big crowd.
Yeah,
it's thunderous. You were there at the state. It's thunderous. Orange is cheering. Shenandoah is cheering. Everybody's just going crazy. You're hearing it, and it's just like, dude, this is wrestling. This is how wrestling's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But those girls, even though we had a small contingent, which was really nice. The boys came out and cheered them on the second day, which was really cool. But girls wrestling is starting to grow at DeSales, and it's going to be exciting. And I may or may not be at the helm next year, trying to decide what I want to do. But I'm thinking about bringing in some former girl wrestlers that I saw this year to maybe try to head it up and really spearhead it.
Well, that's good. I mean, you do bring up a good point. As that part of the sport grows, we need to see more opportunities for girls to be at the helm.
Yeah,
I think it's important. I mean, not that guys can't do it. It's just that there's a certain relation that girls, especially ones that have experienced wrestling already, will be able to bring to a program like DeSales, a historical, storied program like DeSales. And I'm sure you guys want to have state champion female wrestlers as well.
It's coming, and I think I can say this. If Rebecca has anything to say about it next year, she had a couple injuries this year and stuff like that. She was predicted to win it all, and injuries kind of plagued her a little bit toward the end. That's why we kind of pulled back a little bit on our tournaments with the girls. But if she has anything to say about it, she's coming for that title. She really is. And she, whether she places or not, she will be the first 4-time state placer of a girl in DeSales history. So that's an accomplishment on its own. But she wants to be the girl, the black girl on that board full of white guys. On the board. So we're definitely trying to make it happen.
A lot of Italian white guys for some reason up there too. Can't figure it out.
I don't get it. I don't know, but but yeah, she's determined about that. So,
how did you come about to join up with DeSales?
I spoke it into existence. If anyone ever believes about speaking things into existence, I was coaching at Gahanna Lincoln before with Mike Flushy, and a kid made me mad one day, and I just randomly said, I was like, if you guys keep messing with me, I said, I'm going to go coach with Colin Palmer over at DeSales, and that'll teach you guys. And it was just a joke, and I ended up telling the joke to one of my former wrestlers, and in the middle of April, he texted me, and he sent me a post. He sent me Colin's post that he was looking for coaches for DeSales. So he was like, Coach, you said you were going to go to DeSales. Here you go. And I really didn't want to leave Gahanna. Gahanna they are community, hands down. They're the kids. I loved all the kids. I loved the stats. Even Coach Flushy, he made wrestling for me fun when it was getting kind of dark for me, and not having fun and wanting to not do it anymore. He made it really fun for me. But it was kind of my time to go. We just had some disagreements on some things. And I contacted Colin. We were rivals with our youth programs. I coached at Dodge Recreation Center for 9 years. And funny story, I actually met Colin before that. There was a Ohio, the Tournament Champions. There was a Tournament Champions in in April. And I had a parent whose kid got hurt, wrestled at UA, had a very, very bad concussion where he had to learn how to read and write and stuff like that from UA. And he wanted to come and coach at a recreation school because he said the rich kids didn't need help. The inner city kids, you know, need to have a chance too. So he came and coached with me. We were going to do. He came and coached me for a couple of years. We were going to do kind of like an open mat before the tournament of champions. And she said, "Hey, I know Colin Palmer," and I was like, "Okay, whoever that is." And this is when Colin was actually kind of hurt. I think with like a leg injury or something like that. So he was coming in on crutches. But I remember meeting him. I don't know if he remembers meeting me, but we actually met before. And so fast forward, you know, he got Palmer Wrestling started. I was getting Dodge Wrestling on its way up and everything like that. So we would kind of see each other and stuff like that. And I mean, you know, our kids would battle. You know, it'd be a battle with everybody. And, you know, some of my kids, you know, started going to him. Some of his kids started coming to me. So we were kind of trading kids back and forth, you know, kind of trying to solidify whose program was, you know, better and stuff like that. So, you know, I had a disdain for Colin. I didn't hate him. I had a disdain for him. But anytime we saw each other, hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on, bro? You know, I tell the story that we almost got into a fight at the OAC grade school states.
Oh, no.
Because I was coaching a kid. I was coaching one of my kids. One of his kids was wrestling one of my kids on the mat, and he was wrestling, and one of his other kids was wrestling behind us. So he was in the chairs behind us. So I'm yelling at my kid coaching, and they had an injury time or something like that, and Colin's yelling behind me. I said, "Dude, if you want to coach, go sit in the chair." He goes, "I'll coach anywhere I want to." I said, "Oh, really? Do you want to do this right now?" And so, you know, we kind of got exchanged words. And then I saw him again, and I was like, "What's up, Colin?" He goes, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" So, yeah, it was just, you know, just that playful banter that we had. Yep. So, you know, that was kind of our history. And so we went. So, like I said, I hit him up. I said, "Dude," I said, "Hey, it's Yetts. I heard you're looking for coaches. As you want me to send my resume?" He goes, "I know who the fuck you are." He goes, "Meet me here on Wednesday." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Because we're having a team meeting." I said, "All right, cool." So it was at BW3's at Easton. And so I get there. I'm the first one there. Colin's not there yet. Colin is on Colin Palmer time. He says that's CP stands for Color People time, but it's Colin Palmer time. But he gets there when he gets there, and I get there, and I'm the only person there, so I'm standing next to I'm standing at the hostess thing, and again, you just feel something behind you. So the door opens, and I'm like, there's someone behind me, like someone that I know. I turn around, and it's Tom Jones. And so me and Jones have history too in youth wrestling. He was at Whetstone Rec. I was at Dodge Rec. We had a couple battles. Eventually he shut down to kind of focus more on the high school. And then all his kids came to me. And anybody who he would get, he'd say, "Go to Yetts." So, so we had battles, but we were never like bitter enemies. We were always kind of friendly with each other because we were in the Recs. And, not too many kids come out for wrestling in the Recs. So he would always send them to me. And so I turn around, I see him, and I'm like, it's kind of like the Superman meme where everybody's pointing at everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm here for Colin." He goes, "I'm here for Colin too." And he was like, "Oh, this is going to be good." So we were just like, okay, like what is Colin doing here? Like, all right, he has me here. He has Tom Jones here. Like, what's going on? So, we all kind of sat down and, we're all talking, and I hadn't really made a decision if I was going to go to the DeSales or not. And so, we're talking, and he, "Tom, you've been at Whetstone forever, and, you're a great coach, and we heard great things, and blah, 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 blah." And so here I am sitting there like, here's Colin Palmer, Ohio State, Palmer Wrestling. Here's Tom Jones, Whetstone Wrestling, yeah. I don't have a resume. I coached, and I say that, and then I'm going to name my resume, and they're going to be like, "Well, you do have one." But in my head, I don't. Right after I got out of high school, I went to school, Hawaii Pacific University. I coached at Iolani High School. I came back home, coached back at Hardy Middle with my former coach, Joe Yannock. Coached 3 years at Dublin Kaufman with Bob Stoll. I was the head JV coach. That's a funny story. When we get done with that, remind me to tell you that story.
Okay.
coached ball for 3 years. Head coach at Eastmore Academy for a year. I took a year off. My mom's actually the one who got me the job at Dodge Recreation Center. She was cooking down there, and they needed a wrestling coach, and I was kind of like, I'm done. But then I did it and coached there for 9 years. 2 years at Gahan Lincoln, now I'm there. And so I do have a resume. I have some success. I do have state champs and everything like that. But I just didn't see myself on their level. And Colin, he's talking to me. He's like, dude, he goes, the one thing I like out of everything that I've done, and I can't believe he knew this about me. He goes, the thing I like about you is how you get with your kids and how you take video of them. And I'm like, how I take video? He goes, yeah. He goes, I seen you, with your iPad. Same thing. That's how I've always been with my iPad and my stand, running around taking video. He goes, I see you sit with your kids and go through video, and then see them in their next match and they get it. And I'm like, that's what you know about me? I was like, wow. I was like, that's just, I'm not, you got bigger and better things to worry about, but you see me working with these kids and, breaking down video. He goes, yeah. He goes, that's what we need. That's going to make us successful. And I was like, wow, okay. And, we had 1 or 2 more meetings before I made a decision. And I kind of figured, and at one of the meetings, it was kind of like who was coming up, who's the 7th and 8th graders that are going to be coming in the next couple of years. Right. And I was like, dude, I coached against that kid. I coached against that kid. It was like, this is going to be like, he's playing in the head. Like, this is going to be good. And I know I had no other choice but to leave Gahan. I really didn't want to. But I was like, this is an opportunity to really do something. It's me, it's Colin, it's Jones, Tyler Powers is there, former rival Collins there too. It's like, dude, it's going to be a badass team, but it's going to be a badass coaching staff. And it was like, wow, this is going to be good. So yeah. So then we had a little meet the team thing. They introduced everybody, and again, I don't live in my own head. I just don't think that I'm that important for people to talk about. But I had parents come up to me and goes, hey, Yetts, what's going on? I'm like, who the hell are you? And they're like, oh, I wrestled, over here, and your kids were kicking my kid's ass and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, great. And so one of the parents was like, one thing I want to know is why did you guys all decide to come coach with Colin? So Tom gives his speech. He's kind of an honorary DeSales wrestler because he wrestled with them. He went to Whetstone, and he knew Marinelli and everybody like that and everything. And so he has the history. A couple other people say a couple other things, and they get to me, and I was like, actually, I hate Colin. I said, actually, our kids have beat each other's ass so much. I said, what the hell? And let's see what we can do together. I said, dude, this is really fun. I said, but actually, I really didn't like you, to be quite honest. But, we'll see what happens. And it's been a trip, dude. It's been a real cool trip. And Colin's a cool dude. And, I mean, I love his coaching style. He's just really relaxed in the room. He values everybody's opinion. Again, I don't think that I'm on that level in my head, but he talks to me, he talks to Jones, he talks to Powers. He wants everybody's opinion. He's not the smartest person in the room. And when you have a coach like that, everybody's going to flourish because you see everybody's opinion that's different. Like I said, I go over film with kids and stuff like that. I'm doing my role. Tom's doing his role. Powers is doing his role. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I mean, it's all clicking for everybody. And it's just I had fun at Gahanna, but I'm a kid in the candy shop here with all the talent and everything that we're creating and that's coming up, and we're getting ready. And one thing that me and Tom kind of got assigned to was getting the new kids, the first years, the ones who aren't that good yet, getting them to a point to where, okay, hey, we're going to get you guys ready, because we did a lot of split practices. And it's like, okay, we're going to split the practice up. We're going to have new kids, and we're going to have what at the time they called the Elite 7 do their thing. And eventually we want everybody to mesh. And that's just how it planned out, and it worked perfectly. We got the kids up to speed. on how to shoot, how to defense. And we just started kind of throwing a little bit at a time into the elite ones. And it was like, okay, they're here. Let's get you here. We got them there. And I mean, we rocked and rolled with sectional champions, stuff like that. And been sectional champions because of the new kids who stepped up and who really kind of, took it on their own to, I was on the fence about wrestling. I'll do it. But then they got that taste. And it was like, oh boy, wow, let's do this. Sectional champs, CCL champs this year.
Yeah.
First time in since 2009.
Yeah.
It's an amazing ride. And I'm like sitting back and watching and go, am I a part of this? Is this reality? And it's such a cool thing.
Well, you guys are really building something special there. There's no lie. It's you have, when you have a name like Colin Palmer, right? Everybody just thinks that all of a sudden it's going to be an overnight success, and he's building it the right way. He really is, and instilling values in the younger kids, and building a foundation. It's not going to happen overnight. Yeah, but I know he's doing it the right way, and you guys are all a part of that. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy because we all have these relationships with these kids, and over time, we've all learned to be friends with the kids, but to be friendly, but not friends, and to build these relationships. And so, with me and Tom being former head coaches, it's like we enjoy being the assistant. We're not trying to take charge. We want to work with the kids. We're getting to do what we want to do, that we want to do as head coaches, but we had the paperwork and we had all this other stuff that we had to take care of as head coaches. And it's like, now we're developing, it's kind of, I don't want to kind of, throw a little advertisement, but it's kind of like Ohio State develop here, develop at DeSales. And, we're developing these kids who don't know a lick of wrestling, and it's working. And, our heavyweight Ray, he got hurt last year. First match ever, broke collarbone, was set out for the year. And this year was kind of trying to get him back into the groove. And, working with him, they give me all the credit. It's a team effort. They go, what you did with Ray and him coming. I'm like, it's not me. It's the team. It's, everybody. It's Max helping Ray, seeing the potential in Ray. It's everybody helping him, but they want to kind of give me the praise. But I'm like, dude, all I did was just be tough with him. I was tough with him. I compared football to wrestling and let him know, hey, you can do this in football because you can learn this in wrestling. And he, it clicked with him. He got it. He got a couple big wins, a couple tournament placing and stuff like that. And he just kind of turned it on. We have a 106 pounder who he's a cross country runner, and the winner, he did indoor track, swimming, and wrestling. All at the same time.
Wow.
And, he was kind of on the fence. I don't know about wrestling. And we were at sectional actually this weekend. He was on the fence about it. And he was like, but sectional, he got a big win over Watterson. And he was like, let's go. And it was like, I'm doing this next year. Let's go. And it's like wrestling, he caught that wrestling bug. So it's really cool. It's really cool to kind of see the kids develop and catch that, and it's like it's go time. Like what do I need to do in the off season? What do I need to do to get better? What do I want to do to beat Watterson every single time now? They're catching it. But yeah, it's really cool to see.
Well, and Watterson is building a program too, so it's going to be fun to watch from the side, from the bleachers. It's going to be fun to watch that rivalry go. Yeah,
and it's really cool to it's not fun when you have somebody dominating it all the time.
Yeah,
it's fun when it goes back and forth and when you can battle out and stuff like that. Like I said, Bishop Reedy ended up taking second. I remember we were at CCLs, and I looked up at the scoreboard. Watterson's ahead. I turn around, Bishop Reedy's ahead, and they just beat Watterson. I'm like, oh my god! Like Watterson was supposed to, it's supposed to come down to like us too, and here Bishop Reedy ended up taking second and knocking Watterson to third, and it was just like, wow. That's what makes it fun. And funny story about the Bishop Reedy coach, because I know him and he's a really cool guy. And I went to the CCL meeting earlier this year. They have a meeting before the school season starts. And he saw me at Gahanna with Flushy and everything like that. And we had our 145 pounder Chuck Williams wrestle, and his kid they were always pounding it out, his 145-pounder when they met. And so I go behind him. I go, "Hey, bud, what's up?" He goes, "Why are you here?" He goes, "Oh, fuck." He goes, Colin's just making me mad right now. I know what he's doing. He's like, "Dude, you're going to have a fucking team just out the ass over the next couple of years." God damn it. I thought I had a chance. Now, he's like, I was like, "Well," I said, "Jones is here too." He goes, "From Whetstone?" He was like, "Oh, come on." He goes, "I'm not giving anybody else a chance." And I was like, "We'll see." You know, I didn't know the team at the time. And I was like, "We'll see." But it's been fun. And even with the guys, like we talked earlier, having to come out all over again. I really didn't have to. The guys kind of follow me on Instagram, and I'm not shy about posting certain things or something like that when it comes to who I am and what's a part of me. And the guys kind of caught wind of it, and they were kind of. I had said a quote or something like that in the Instagram, in the title, and I was at practice, and they kept repeating it, and it was nothing bad or anything like that, but it was just like, okay, I know you guys saw it, and everybody was just kind of like, cool, all right, Yetts is gay, okay, and everybody was kind of like, if I say something, let me know. And I was like, dude, if you're gonna dish it out, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna dish it right back at you. So be prepared, be ready for it. Because I'm not some soft person who gets offended by everything. Like, be ready for it. And it's funny because I was telling Colin about this. Me and Tom were talking about it, and he was like, you have to tell Colin about this interview. And I was like, okay. And so it was actually after CCLs, and I was like, okay. I'll tell Colin. And so I was like, "Hey, so Colin, I gotta tell you something." He was like, "What, dude?" I was like, I'm going to have this, be on this podcast, and, they're going to talk about my story, and I'm gay. And I love Colin to death. The first thing he was like, "Well, is it like a setup job? Are they trying to expose you?" I said, "No, they're not trying to expose me." I said, "They just want to tell my story and stuff like that." And he was just like, "Oh, okay, dude." He goes, "We got your back." He goes, "Yeah, we're not worried about it." And I was like, "Well, we could get feedback from the diocese or something like that." He was like, he goes, "We got too many kids and too many parents that love you." He goes, "If anything happens, we'll take care of it." And I said, "I'm not worried about it." I said, I've never been worried about it. My track record speaks for itself, and everything like that. Kids have always stuck up for me. I had one kid threaten another parent at an Ohio Way tournament.
Huh.
Threatened to beat up this parent who was talking about me. And stuff like that. And the dad had to kind of pull him back, like, "Dude, you're 12. You're not going to beat up this. I don't care. He's talking about my coach," and stuff like that. I came out at Dodge and everything to parents and stuff like that. And the feedback I've always gotten has been, my kids love you. I'm not going to take somebody who's positive out of their life and who cares about them for something that doesn't mean anything. So I mean, and apparently I've changed lives. One parent told me, the word fag and gay ran rampant around her house. And, when they got to me and, when I told them I was gay and everything like that, she goes, "It stopped immediately." He goes, "The respect that they have for you changed." She thanked me because her house calmed down a lot.
Yeah.
But it was like, the respect that they have for you, they check their words now. And it's amazing. It still amazes me because, again, I don't think I'm up here, but it's the little things in life that kind of I'm changing people and kids' lives, and I don't even know it. It's just an everyday thing. And like I said, from some kids have 1 year, my youth program, we raised the money for a Kaleidoscope, which is an LGBT youth place for them to go to. We raised money for them. We held a pride night, and we kind of dueled each other the first time. Second time, more people wanted to be involved in it and everything like that. And the third time, we had another team and kids from all around who wanted to be involved in it because it was cool. There's this one picture of our first night that we did it. the first time that we did it, I had these pride shoes, and on the bottom, I didn't realize that they were rainbow. And I'm sitting in the front, and the kids are all behind me, and we did our logo in rainbow color. And you see the bottom of my shoes. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool pic to see the bottom of my shoes and the kids all around me and stuff like that. So, I mean, I've always had support from everybody. I'm a wrestling official as well. So I've always had support of Fred Feeney and stuff like that. You know, it's just really cool just to see the wrestling community kind of come around me. And a funny story about that. One of my parents overheard one time, they were at a tournament and they heard two parents talking in the concession line. They were like, hey, those kids from Dodge are good. You know, he goes, I'm thinking about taking my kid there. And the other parent goes, well, you know, he's black, right? He said, yeah, but he goes, I don't care about that. Like, you know, his kids are kicking. Well, he goes, well, you know, he's also gay, right? He's like, well, if gay black men can teach my kid how to not get his ass kicked, I'm taking him to him. It doesn't matter, you know, and hearing things like that, you know, we're changing hearts and minds. And, it's, you know, it's amazing. It's really, really amazing to hear and stuff like that. Like I said, I had a kid last night tag me on Instagram on a photo of somebody who inspires him. And, you know, it was out of left field. And, you know, he hit me up and he said, you know, you a lot of things that you said, I listened to, and it's helping me become the person I am today. And I was like, what did I say? Like, I have no idea what I told you. And, you know, he's just like, you know, you taught me a lot of life lessons. And that's going back to my high school coach teaching me those life lessons and stuff like that. And everything comes full circle. And it's just, it's a fun ride. I don't know how many more years I have in myself to coach because I want my winners back. Yeah. But it's just been one hell of a ride. And I mean, I've had the support of everybody. Anyone who's ever come on my team, I've never had a parent, you know, I've always kind of given the parents, you know, the discretion. Hey, just to let you know, I'm gay, just in case you didn't know I'm black as well, just in case that was a surprise. But, you know, we do things on this team differently, and this is a team that accepts everybody, and it's crazy. One kid who's graduated now, he wrestled for Westland, Bryson Palmer. He told me that before matches he would listen. He had his mom record at the end of practice. I would speak, and I would go on for maybe like 10 or 20 minutes of just speaking and, you know, positives and stuff like that, and talking. And he said, you know, my mom recorded you speaking so I can hear it before matches. Huh. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so sometimes I would record myself because I would make hype videos for the kids. And I said, dude, here's recordings of me recording myself. And he was like, dude, this is the best thing ever. And it would get him hype. He would not listen to music, but listen to my voice, hype him up. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. It's just crazy to be that kind of influencer.
Well, my hope is by this, that somebody out there will hear this recording of you and understand what I said earlier. Wrestling is not only for everybody, but wrestling is family.
Yes.
And everybody is part of this family. Mm-hmm. And it's important for someone that might be struggling with their race, their gender, their sexuality, with depression, with suicide, whatever, homelessness, that you're part of this family. Yep. And that's why I think it's important to get this out. We went way over time, and I respect your time. Yes. I know there's a lot more to the story still.
Yeah.
So what I'll tell you, what I'll just put a bow on it. It goes back to what my takeaway with you is. It goes back to what your mom told you. You're just exuding this, what is it? Whatever it is, aura, personality, confidence. And that's why everything around you has gone so well. And so keep it up, because I see you've got the respect of your wrestlers. You got the respect of your coaches. You got the respect of your rival coaches. Keep it up, man. It's awesome to watch.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it. I love telling my story. I've told it several times, but you know, it's never enough. It's never enough to let someone know, hey, wrestling is a sport that, you know, like you said, it's family. Once you're in it, once it's in your blood, and it's like let's go. Like, what do I have to do? Like, you know, I have a girl who's coming out first year. She's in 7th grade, and you know, mom's hitting me up. Where's the camps? What's Palmer doing? And then so it's like, you know, what we want to be a part of it. You know, we love this atmosphere. And so, you know, thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing my story, and have me on again. There's a whole lot more with coaching through the years that I did and still doing and stuff like that. And, you know, if you want to find some more LGBT people to speak to you, trust me, I know them. They're out there. There are people, I can definitely talk to you about Wrestlers Without Borders. It's an organization I'm a part of.
Okay.
That has groups all around the world and stuff like that are LGBT. They're LGBT friendly. Well, actually, my fault. Not LGBT, they're straight friendly.
Okay.
First, that they're LGBT groups, so they're straight friendly, and even the straight guys love coming because it's not some who has the bigger muscle competition. It's wrestling, it's learning, and stuff like that. So, I mean, please have me on again. I would love to talk about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we do. We need to get the word out about that stuff too. Right now, I wanted your story to be told, but I think that all of those resources, again, need to be a part of this family. And it's only going to push the sport forward. But people, we're humans, and we need to figure out how to love each other more, I think.
Exactly. And I would, you know, we got to love each other, but at the same time, let me throw you. Let me throw you.
I love it. Yeah.
Let me throw you 5 and then show my love on the mat. But, you know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks, Coach. I appreciate your time.
No problem. Anytime.